This is the most definitive guide to audiobooks,
I think.
It is Charles from Books on Stereo. So I hear you want to get into audiobooks, but you may not know where to start. Well, lucky for you, I am an audiobook aficionado, and I have crafted a guide on how to get into audiobooks. And for me, I almost exclusively only consume stories via audio. So I think I know what I'm talking about a little bit, just a little bit. And this may be super petty of me, but I get super annoyed when a book doesn't have an audio. Like if you come to me with a book recommendation and it doesn't have an audiobook, like I'm sorry, that book is probably never gonna be read by me. I'm just being honest here, not to hurt anyone's feelings. The only exception to that rule, if it has the text-to-speech functionality enabled, then I may consider it, but odds are not too good. So let's get into things. So first off, how do you get audiobooks? Well, there are a ton of options. If you want free, then I suggest that you check out your local libraries to see if they use Hoopla or Libby. And the only caveat with this service is that you may have to wait to get access to these audiobooks, but hey, it's free. And even though I do not count this as a true audiobook, if you have ebooks that you bought from Amazon that have the text-to-speech functionality enabled, you can listen to books that may not have an audiobook. Now for everything else, you're gonna have to pay. I'm sorry. Up first we have librofm, which is kind of like the darling of the audiobook space because it actually supports local bookstores. And I believe for about $14.99 per month, you get 1 credit. And they also have the romance, the business, the YA, and the kids audiobook clubs, where every month they offer discounted audiobooks. And the great thing is that you do not have to be subscribed or have a subscription to their service to take part in these deals. And if you are ever dissatisfied with an audiobook, you can always return it with no questions asked. And they also have an art program for audiobooks, but in order to gain access into the program, you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, and I'm not salty whatsoever at all about this. At least I have NetGalley that offers audiobooks, so forget you, Libro. Next, there is Chirp, which is a relatively new service, and it is basically a curated list of heavily discounted audiobooks. I haven't used this service, but it was recommended to me by Lisa from the channel Remarkably Lisa, and I'll link all her channel information down below. You guys should definitely go check her out. So there isn't a subscription or any monthly fee. It's basically a la carte. You just buy the audiobooks that you want to buy. Now on to the biggest player in the game, Audible. But before I get into Audible, Amazon has a service called Kindle Unlimited where you can get the audiobooks alongside the ebooks for free. Now the caveat for this is that you typically only get the audiobooks for free with the ebook when the book was published by Amazon. But let's get back to Audible. So Audible has a ton of plans that I do not care to go into right now. You can do your own research on these plans. Audible is about the same price as librofm, but you're offered way more flexibility in terms of plan choice than librofm. Audible also has this cool program called Audible Escape where you can basically borrow up to 10 different romance audiobooks for free, and it is about $4.99 per month. And this collection is pretty expansive, and they're constantly adding new and exclusive titles every single month. And on top of that, included within your membership, you get a free Audible original, which are basically audiobooks that you can only get from Audible, and they can be of any genre. And you never know what the picks will be for each month until that month arrives. Typically, you only get one of the Audible originals for free, but now you can get all the selections for free. But the caveat is you do need a membership in order to get the free Audible originals. And in general, Audible tends to have the most exclusive titles, but you are also able to exchange any audiobook within a year purchase with no questions asked. And additionally, for some of the ebooks that you may buy from Amazon, you also get at least a 30% or more discount on the audiobook as well. I personally use both services because I listen to so many audiobooks, but to each their own. Now that we briefly covered how to get audiobooks, now let's talk about how you get used to the format. Well, first off, I would not recommend that you choose a super long audiobook or read something that's like Game of Thrones or any super large adult fantasy or It by Stephen King. I highly suggest that you stay very far away from the 30, even 20 plus hour audiobooks. I would recommend starting with an audiobook that is around 6 to 9 hours or maybe even shorter and go for a novella. And with that in mind, when going to choose your first audiobook, I would say choose a book that you have already read and already enjoyed, because if you choose a book that you've already read and loved, you won't be as focused on trying to understand the story, the plot, or the characters. You can be more focused on the performance of the narrator rather than focusing solely on the story and the performance of the narrator, if that makes any sense. If you want to try something new, you can look up any these celebrity narrators and see what audiobooks that they have narrated. Or you could check out some of the best-selling audiobooks on either of these platforms. Or you could just do it the old-fashioned way, just ask for recommendations from people like me who have a very extensive knowledge on audiobooks. But this is super important. This is first and foremost a super important thing with audiobooks. Listen to the sample. Almost every platform on which you can buy audiobooks, they offer you a sample of the narration. So make sure you check out that sample to see if you like the narrator, because a bad narrator can make or break the experience for you. It can even ruin the experience of a book that you have already loved just because the narrator is so bad. Now that you have your brand new shiny audiobook, how do you get used to the speed of the narration? For most audiobooks, it is far too slow on 1x speed. I would recommend at least going to 1.25 or 1.75x speed for your first audiobook, because that will bring the narration to more of a conversational speed. Because if you just listen on 1x speed, it's going to be extremely slow, and you can honestly read the book faster than the narrator is reading the story to you. So I would say up it to at least 1.25 to 1.75 to get it to more of a conversational speed. Now, since this video is mostly geared towards newbies, I would highly recommend that you do not go above 2x speed for at least your first couple audiobooks. Just because if you decide to go up to 3 or 3.5 for your first audiobook, you may miss a ton of story and you may find yourself zoning out. So I would definitely say, as you get more into the audiobook genre, I would slowly up the speed notch by notch until you can work yourself up to the 3 or the 3x speed. Or if you want to be extremely extra, you can actually read the physical book while you're listening to the audiobook. I know a lot of people do that just to help them get into audiobooks a little bit more. So some people actually like that, and that may be an actual viable way for you to get into audiobooks. Now, I know this is not the most exhaustive guide to getting into audiobooks, but I hope this video at least provided you some guidance on how to get started with audiobooks. If you want some recommendations, feel free to hit me up down in the comments down below. I will be happy to give you recommendations. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.